far as the status quo in the country is concerned, the twists and turns in the political scene still getting Kenyans thinking and giving out mixed reactions. At this point in time, allow us to cross over to our sister station, that is Spice FM, where they're having a conversation with Peter Kaluma, the Member of Parliament, Homa Bay Town constituency. And this is what their focus is on: party politics. ODM leadership in Kenya Kwanza government. Will members of parliament cross the aisle? My name is Anki Dorisombat. James Adams once said, the cure for the ills of democracy is more democracy. Enjoy.
The Honorable Peter Kaluma, good morning, Mheshimiwa.
Morning, morning, Latif.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Great, very happy as a good governance guy for where we are as a nation and what we can achieve working together.
Very good. Very good. Karibu sana.
Asante, Latif.
I know you are in the speakers panel of the National Assembly. You're a very busy man.
The Luos call it assistant speaker, not speakers panel.
Assistant speaker.
Yeah, they understand.
There's a
that
speaker, deputy speaker, assistant speaker.
Ben Kaluma.
Okay. Hey, what do you say? Man is from Homa Bay. All Homa Bay. When you hear a man from Homa Bay, just expect.
Yeah.
What were you told it's called?
Which one?
Yeah, this thing that they have, the vavavoom of the Homa Bay people. There's a word. Nyade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nyade.
What is Nyade city?
Nyade is pride. Pride in who you are.
Bas.
The plumage.
It's a plumage of the chicken.
Plumage of the chicken.
Bas.
So
insert that word appropriately when you're giving the proverb.
Yes.
Use the right language. Mheshimiwa, we have a message for you from Britain, and they talk about investing, and it's important that you know this, and also you spread the message to people. People are being encouraged not to save, put money in their wallet, in their pocket, in just a simple bank account where it's not earning you much. Put it somewhere where it's growing. You know the parable of the talents, the one who just took money and went and buried it under the sand. And even the Lord was like, So Britain have products like the money market fund and the smart yield, where they say put in money and it grows. All right? Safe, and also it's a low risk, good return, and you get your money. And it preserves your wealth. And if you open and you start saving in the money market fund, you can earn up to
13.5% per annum.
Per annum. And the smart yield is up to
14%
per annum. Again, some good growth of your wealth, and you're just putting it there instead of just sitting in and you can access it. If there's money market, you can access it.
Anytime.
It's short term, it's smart yield, you can access it as well anytime. How do you do this? You go to ke.britam.com, you find a tab written Save and Invest, and then you click on it, you choose the money market fund or the Britam Smart Yield, and then you click on it. It brings you a new page, says Start Investing. It opens the page for you. You fill out the details there.
The idea that you can have a cabinet secretary from within Luo Nyanza, not necessarily a Luo, is something they can't imagine. And they can tell you, Latif, up to yesterday in the night, even members of the ODM party are still saying Badi must leave that seat. Because to them, their definition of some communities is limited to things like mandamano, throwing stones, not doing anything much. The idea that you can have the minister in charge of the treasury and the minister in charge of energy from what people know as within Nyanza region, even if they are not Luos, has really disturbed people. And so let me go back to your question now. Article 4 of the Constitution says Kenya is a multi-party democratic state. It means it is a state in which we have very many political parties. In our place, I am a member of the ODM party. There are members of UDA. If you go to Article 10, it will tell you about the national values and principles of governance, which includes inclusivity. You go to the chapter on the executive, you'll see the powers of the president. You go particularly to Article 232 of the Constitution, it talks and do to how the public service is composed. What has been happening in this country is that public service has been composed in a manner that is unconstitutional. And this is one of the reasons as to why our young people, following other, agitations, were on the streets. Remember, they were saying tribeless, so many less, you know what I mean? Yeah, so the fact that the president appoints people is his. And let me begin by telling you that all Kenyans, for those who do not know our constitution, are in government, including you, Latif, including Du, including my brother Muga, including Kaluma. In fact, more so me, I'm a state officer, I'm a member of parliament in the government of Kenya. Raila Odinga is in government. So it is out of some misunderstanding when you ask Raila centered government or ODM centered KK government. All these parties and all Kenyans are in government, but all Kenyans are different in different political parties. So
let me take you back just a little bit. You talk about appointments being unconstitutional. Like which ones are you speaking
The
of?
previous ones.
Which ones?
The cabinet, which was dissolved, and then so many of them. You remember even and across public service.
Those offices, those appointments were unconstitutional?
Unconstitutional in terms of not meeting the constitutional benchmarks.
Such as?
Article 230, 232.
What are those?
Ethnic balance. The constitution says there will be all ethnic groups. Gender balance. I can tell you on the first point, just a short while you saw over 1,402 people being employed to Kenya Revenue Authority as revenue assistants from two communities. It was in parliament, it went to court, the court nullified it, but they are still working. That is what we had. So I'm saying it did not meet benchmarks like gender, balance, the minorities, you didn't have their number, persons with disability, to date you don't have. So I'm saying there is progress and we need to continue to fight. And that is why I'm saying beyond the cabinet, we need to go to PSS, up to the people who clean our floors. And we are waiting for more opportunities for all Kenyans, not just in ODM.
Is this new
Kenyans.
proposed cabinet then constitutional?
It is a progress. It has not met the mark fully, because I've not seen a person with disability, for instance, in it. To whom we are required to have at least 5%. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's better than what we had. What we had was largely, remember, one community had 8 cabinet positions, whose portfolios you understood, just one community, one region, against the constitution, which speaks to the matter of the face of Kenya, ethnic and regional balance. And remember the DPS letters last weekend was still saying, I'm searching for 2 more. Yeah, so that is not the Kenya we want. And so I'm discouraging Kenyans from thinking when you appoint people from regions which are deemed to be for this political party, then they have joined government. Everybody is in government. They're just taking their due spaces under the constitution to serve the country.
So if Mbadi and Opiyo Wandayi had not been nominated here, would you still consider, if it was other people from Luo Nyanza, would you be okay with it?
By then, Mbadi is not a Luo. Mbadi is from the minority group called Suba.
Okay. Is it from Nyanza?
Yes, it is within Nyanza.
All right.
So on the Kisii side, we have the nominee for education, and we had education before you know it. Wandayi is on the other side of the lake. So I don't know whether it's Luo or Luo.
If John Mbadi...
He's a Kenyan. That is what is important.
If John Mbadi and Opiyo Wandayi are not the names that appeared in the nominees list, and you had Eliud Owalo and, say, Machage,
I have no problem.
Would it be okay?
I have no problem. And that is why I have a problem.
So that's what we had. We had Eliud Owalo before, we had Machage before.
Yes, it is the president who appoints, and the president goes for competences which he needs to lead the country. And you see, I am shocked at how we contradict ourselves. When we had a problem with the Ruto cabinet, the person whose clips as all media were showing was John Mbadi's talk. John Mbadi is up to now the chair of the Public Accounts Committee, which is the primary committee of oversight in Parliament. And by the way, it's done very well. We are up to date in terms of the audits, so that our counties can get due money. Wandayi is the minority leader. Wandayi is a former detainee. You saw how Wandayi was even ordered out of Parliament for a whole year. Abruptly, when they are appointed, people don't want to see their competences. They think of the region they're coming from. We can't permit that. That is not the Kenya we want.
Are you sure people are seeing the region?
Yeah, that is what they are talking about.
What are they talking about?
I can tell you up to last night, members of ODM from some regions were still meeting saying Badi must leave treasury for them. You know, this tribal bigotry is being spewed around. You saw the media last night where people from one tribe are shouting Badi must leave, Wandai must leave, and they're within ODM. A lot of dishonesty. A lot of dishonesty. Let us allow Kenyans from all backgrounds, from all regions, of all diversity to serve the country more so where we are today.
So you quoted Article 4 of the Constitution, right? And Kenya is a multi-party democracy.
Correct.
Does it envision a place where, after an election, all sides, all political parties then are game for forming the executive?
We are not in the executive.
If the chairman of ODM takes up the position in the executive, does it envision a situation where all political parties join the executive?
Not necessarily. Number one, let me clarify our architecture. I've heard people saying a lot that the opposition has gone to bed with government.
And had a baby.
And had a baby. Look at the Constitution of Kenya. If you showed me the word opposition as part of our structure of our governance, opposition, I will invest 1 million in Britain because I'd invested with them before I lapsed, and I'm seeking out to recover my investment in education. It is very important, I tell you. There is no position in our current structure. In the current structure, we have a presidential system of government.
Yes.
And in the presidential system of government, the opposition is parliament as a whole. So we don't have government side like before and opposition.
Okay.
We talk these things because we are hangover. We have the hangover of the past constitutional order, the dictatorial one we replaced. The arrangement we have is that Echungwa, who is the majority leader currently, should be the one leading our charge against the executive. But you know, because we are died in the whole of the past, Akina Echungwa say we are in government, there is some imaginary opposition to them somewhere. And these are the things we are mistaking. I'm saying all these people are in government. ODM party is funded by the public. I hope we know that. Kenya Kwanza and their coalitions are funded by the public. The parties which qualify, these are properties of the Kenyan people they are investing in for their good governance. And that is what it is. And the president is empowered to appoint anybody. We are making noise now. But in the 11th parliament, you remember Kaiseri was appointed from among ODM. And he led as a very good, minister for security. In fact, it is his place which was taken by Bemusi. The president is given the leeway as the head of state to pick whoever he believes could have the best competences and capacities to enable them move forward. And so he's appointing John Badi. And remember, when John Badi succeeds during vetting, and I can assure you we will approve him because we know his contributions to this country.
Which one are you
the
saying?
ODM party has structures. We are going to have a new chair. We have very many people in ODM to lead.
Please
so
enlighten.
this thing of crying Badi should be the chair. If he goes, there is no position. I don't understand it.
Can we go a step back? So are you saying that what we've seen recently with the nominations for appointees by the president was solely based on vacancies that have been created by virtue of the dissolution of cabinet, and that the prerequisite for this was purely that they're able to do the work?
I can only,
and it has nothing at all to do with the political innuendo that we've seen played out in the country over the last few weeks.
Yeah, the media is misleading the country. If there were time...
I'm asking if the president appointments were made solely on what you've said just now, based on competencies, based on the vacancies that have been left in cabinet, are those appointments based solely on those?
In my view, looking at all the appointments, I'm satisfied by their competence. Of course, I'm not the president to know...
Kaluma, I'm going to stick on that question.
I'm not the president to know what other considerations he had, but I can tell you on the face of it, they are competent Kenyans. and we'll be vetting them. Other issues could arise. I also don't know each individual in detail, but so far as I know, in terms of competences, the ones I know, like the Honorable John Badi, the Honorable Pio Wandai, the Honorable Wycliffe Oparanya, the Honorable Joe, even the Honorable Murkomen for sports. We've been in Bunge FC and for 13 years with Murkomen playing soccer, even when he was appointed minister.
So by virtue of the fact that you've played soccer with him, so that was a good idea for him to be
I'm telling you, if he's taken to sports, I'm satisfied.
Okay.
The question again, Ndu?
I'm going to ask the question again. Based on what you previously said, are these appointments for nominations by the president based purely on competencies from what you see?
Yes, there is competence and there are other considerations under Article 232. So I say yes, and I say there are additional considerations. If you look at Article 232, it says you'll appoint based on merits and competence. But so in so doing, you will be subject to these other requirements like ethnic balance, gender balance. You will consider minorities like the Subas from where Mbadi comes from. By the way, he's not a Luo. You consider persons with disability, yes. So yes.
So the politics of the day plays no part here whatsoever?
In fact, not at all.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. The president himself commended the leadership of diverse organizations, both public and private, including political parties, for their encouraging response to his outreach to consult on forming a broad-based government. The willingness to set aside their partisan positions and interests in order to join a visionary partnership for the radical transformation of Kenya is a historic gesture of their patriotism. So this was what he said when he announced the new nominees. And prior to that, he had said he wants to consult widely. He wants to reach out to leadership of all political parties, and so that they can join government. Again, I go back to your Article 4 of the Constitution and the formation of government and structure of government. Are you saying, Bwana Assistant Speaker of the National Assembly, that the Constitution envisages a place where, after an election, the winning political party and the candidate can go to the losing political party and its candidate and co-opt them into government?
We've not been co-opted into government.
Can
individuals who are competent to serve the country have been picked from the ODM and other political parties to serve the government. And when they go into government, they are required by law to resign before. So they'll cease to be in any political party as civil servants.
Okay. Did you have a problem when the president invited some ODM members for meetings in State House?
Certainly.
The ODM party has had a problem with individual members of parliament in their individual capacity, not as officials of ODM, for meetings in parliament.
There is...
the ODM party has censured those members of parliament for going, not to join the executive, but to have a meeting with the president.
There is every problem with the approach, not meeting the president. I meet the president quite often. I've met the first lady. What we require as a party is that you disclose, and it should not be that you then stand on the fence as to whether you are in your party or not. Because when you meet the president, like the way I met the first lady to discuss matters, family law, and the situation of children in Kenya, and from that you remember the first lady came up with Children of the Nation as one additional program she can run. That is fine. But when you meet the president and then you don't go to your party, particularly when the whip is applied in terms of how you should align yourselves with your manifesto in decision making in parliament, then there is a problem. You are not being honest with your party.
Okay.
And that way you fall afoul of the law.
The official position of ODM, as communicated by the Secretary General after several meetings of the top organs of ODM, is that ODM is not joining government. That ODM is not entering into any agreement and partnerships with government. Did the deputy party leaders of ODM, the Honorable Hassan Ali Joho and the Honorable Wycliffe Oparanya, did the chairman of ODM, the Honorable John Badi, did the minority leader in the National Assembly, nominated by ODM, the Honorable Pio Wandai, inform and seek to kowtow with the party before they were nominated?
Latif, this is the one thing I came to clarify. So allow me to clarify it. The ODM party and Azimio coalition has had very many meetings on this matter. And if you want to see the resolutions reached in all those meetings, more so the last meeting which I saw the Secretary General of the party, talking about, the one which was disrupted by the youth when we were reading resolutions. And with Latif, if you look at that video, I was on the left of Kalonzo on the podium. Actually, the second person on the left. We've had very many meetings. If you want to look at the totality of the resolutions reached, look at the first note Prime Minister Raila Odinga, our party leader, sent out over the weekend. I don't know whether you remember it. And then look at his letter, of yesterday. You look at them, you will see 5 resolutions which we came to out of those meetings, particularly the last one. The problem causing confusion is that when you hear Sifuna is speaking to one thing, not the whole, picture, the way, our party leader has been speaking about it. That's the same way you see James Orengo will pick one, but he does not tell people the whole thing. So look at what, Baba, the party leader, says in totality. And there were 5 things. Number 1, we discussed 5 issues. Number 1, we said there were some things which the current government needed to do, before we can go into a situation where people would have conversation. And you saw them in the list of the preconditions the party leader sent out in his note over the weekend. We said we are still burying Kenyans who are killed during this clamor for reforms. We need to be done with that. We said so many people could not be accounted for, even as we speak to. We needed them to be accounted for. We said those ones who are in police stations across the country need to be released. We said the president and his government need to think of how we can have some level of compensation, for the lives lost. Of course, you cannot, compensate life. But we said, among other reforms like NHIF, SHIF, you saw Baba put them as preconditions. And we said, when all these are done, the nation could be in an environment to discuss. At the second level, we said the word dialogue was disturbing people, and it is what was making people to think there is some rapprochement or approach between our party leader and the president. And we said, because when you talk dialogue, you think to people. And so people are easily saying there is a new handshake coming. I'm the one who spoke on the floor, Latif. And my Secretary General will tell you, because after he spoke, people adopted it and said we do the resolutions. And we did the resolutions with him. I can tell you. And I said, move this thing from dialogue when those conditions are met and we are in a good state as a country where we can talk. Because a number of these things the youth were talking about can only be gained from the table.
You can come back to that. But my direct question was...
Let me give you the faith. I'm going to where you are because I want to put this thing in context. Latif, this is important for me. And so we said, let us have a national people's convention at a neutral place. So you remember the note of the party leader over the weekend. He gave conditions. Then after that, he said there will be a national convention, because that portends everybody coming to bring their views in terms of how we should move the country. In which case, even the president would be coming as a Kenyan, not just to respond, but also to give us the views. And all sections of Kenyans, you remember, Baba stipulated there. The next thing was a discussion around this matter you are on, where we were saying the president is saying he needs to co-opt other Kenyans. He needs to reach out beyond his, limited political party to enrich his government. How do we go about it? And the resolution we reached on that regard, and I gave on the floor the example of Nkaiseri, is that the president has the power to appoint anybody in the country. He can appoint anybody. And that is why I tell you all these guys are saying the same thing, but they are speaking in turns, at cross purposes. Because Sifuna is saying, ODM has not blessed them. What he's not telling you is that we said, we did not, however, limit the constitutional power and authority of the president to appoint anybody, including from ODM. And I gave the power of Nkaiseri. Then lastly, in terms of joining government, which is tied to the third point, we said there is nothing like joining government. But we empowered our party leader to continue engaging other parties, because we are a growing party. okay? And as and when he reached an agreement with any party, he would tell us. We empowered him. And so I can tell you they are right when they tell you, so far as we know, we don't have an alliance with the UDA and ODM, All Kenya Kwanza, and ODM. What we know is that we resolved that the president can appoint anybody, including from ODM.
I want us to take a break.
So I'm saying it is very wrong for members of the party to go saying, the way my Secretary General was saying, I don't support this, I don't do this. Let the president proceed as he's doing, as we wait for any talk that there is. And I'm confirming, I'm not aware of any talk which has been undertaken between the Prime Minister and President Ruto. In fact, these appointments were made when you remember our party leader was out of the country.
That's your question. Now my question, answer my question. And I'm going to give you the context as well, because I'd asked the question before and you answered it. And now the next question. The context is, you've just told us that the Honorable Jalango, the Senator for Kisumu, and the other members of ODM who have gone to State House for a meeting with the president were censured by the party because they had not first sought the approval of the party before engaging in any kind of consultation with the president. So the question is, did the two deputy party leaders of ODM, did the chairman of ODM, did the minority party leader, but the minority leader of the National Assembly, who's an ODM member, seek the approval of ODM before this nomination?
I said we resolved that the president can appoint anybody, including them. And I said so long as they are being appointed by president to serve Kenyans, the approval of the party is not necessary.
So can the president invite anybody to State House just for a meeting? Does he not have the sole discretion to be able to do that regardless of where your party
He's
sits?
the president of the Republic.
He's the president of the Republic of Kenya.
I've told
he
you
can invite you for a meeting at State
of
House.
A multi-party democracy.
What would the difference be?
By the way, do I tell you, I serve in the committee that oversights.
You're not answering the question. Let's take a break.
No, Latif, I go to State House.
Let's take a break.
I told you the
Let us
reason
take
as
a
why
break.
you go is the issue.
I have part two of the question, and you can mull over it as we take this break. Yes,
sir.
Does the ODM party expect the deputy party leaders, the chairman, and this other member to come to it now and say, I have been approached, give me authority to engage with the president?
No.
The same way that Jalango was expected to seek the party's position. We'll come back, you'll answer that question.
You're mixing issues.